Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome to VCTV, which is the Venture Capital TV from LATOKEN. It's another episode of VCTV, another topic, another set of speakers. And I'm very excited about the topic today, which is about peer-to-peer transactions, blockchain technology, investments around that. I've got some familiar faces, familiar speakers, and I've got very new speakers as well joining us for the very first time. So yes, that's all the excitement all about. Oh, sorry, before I start, happy Thanksgiving, because I've got most of my speakers from the US. Okay, welcome back, guys. Those who are from the US and those who just, again, joined me on VCTV today. So yeah, there you go. All right. Cool. So before I start the show, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of LATOKEN. LATOKEN hosts VCTV. It's the platform where we connect investors with entrepreneurs, and the sole objective and goal of VCTV is to help startups, entrepreneurs get that much needed funding to grow, to scale up, to meet people like yourselves. So we launched this in February 2020, and since then we've grown in terms of the number of speakers that we have, a number of entrepreneurs that we have in the community, and the number of viewers as well. So which explains that this platform is the future of networking, I would say. Obviously no physical conferences happening. So I think this is what the future looks like as for me. Thank you so much for listening to that. And now I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm just counting, sorry. 7 speakers in my Zoom lobby. Okay, great. We have like 7 speakers for the panel today. Very excited. I'll go the way I see you all on my Zoom lobby. So that's very much very convenient for me to just navigate through each of you there. So I would like to start with Gary first. Gary, please help introduce yourself to our new speakers and the audience who may not know you. And I go from there. Gary, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Gary Fowler. Great to be here, Sunny. And I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 16 companies, 2 unicorns. I love artificial intelligence, so write about it, talk about it, and also quantum computers. I just wrote an article actually today on cybersecurity and quantum computers. So I believe that this is an incredible time. This digital transformation has changed our lives and dramatically, and our corporate lives. In one sense, it's really pushed us forward, probably 5 years ahead of where we would have been. So excited to be here and look forward to our incredible guests and a lot of my friends that are here, Irina, Kelly, Jose, yourself, Carol. So it's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gary. It's always great to have you. Next, I see Telly. Telly, welcome back. How are you today?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. Great to be back on the show again. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
So I'm Telly Valerie Onu. I live in the Caribbean, St. Kitts and Nevis to be exact. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, co-founder of Young Capital Markets, which is a digital asset management firm, and digital financial market infrastructure company, co-founder of a fintech incubator called Pearl House Labs. And we have a number of portfolios in there. One of them is Alt School, which is the first tech school for digital financial markets infrastructure, or digital finance, basically. I'm also the head of, for this topic, I'm also the head of governance and execution for the Bantu Blockchain Foundation. We've been in stealth mode for over a year, and I'm happy to say we've come out today, opening up to the community, and we'll be officially launching in December. We have our mainnet. I'm doggish about infrastructure, especially digital financial market infrastructure, DeFi. I'm interested in DeFi, cybersecurity, and also interested in AI as well. And I'm happy to be on the panel again.
Fantastic. Thank you, Telly, for that introduction, and welcome back to VCTV. Next, I see Rena after a short break. Hi, Rena. Welcome back. How are things? Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. We actually harvested a turkey last night. The turkey we
Ooh.
grew from like the one old baby. So Justin
Ooh.
did it. It was interesting experience. Definitely have a new appreciation for how much work it takes to do that, you know,
Yeah.
personally. My name is Irina Lichfield. I'm founder of Blockchain Cubed. Blockchain Cubed is a blockchain integration company. We do everything from architecture design to integrating strategy of, you know, understanding of how it works to be operating in a blockchain industry. I'm also president of Lumeria, and Lumeria is where capital meets innovation. It's such a pleasure to be here. I've missed you guys so much. It feels
Same
like it's
here.
been forever.
Exactly. And I missed you a lot more than you did, I guess. And welcome back on VCTV Arena. Thank you. Next, we have Jose. Hi, Jose. Welcome back on VCTV. Happy Thanksgiving. How are you today?
Happy Thanksgiving, Sonny. So happy to be on your show here today again, and really looking forward to it with all my friends here, Gally, Telly, and all the other panel members. So my name is Jose Grasa. I've been a serial entrepreneur now for quite a long time. Eventually became a business angel on the VC, a advisor for the Portuguese government for some time for the Ministry of Economy, and later on also a mentor to a lot of startups. I'm still an advisor for the biggest Portuguese venture capital company, state-owned. And what drives me today is basically business inclusion for every individual, and trying to make them in the, let's say, in the decision making that they become Fortune 500 CEOs. And that technology basically touches everything that we always speak on these shows that we have, like blockchain, AI, machine learning, you know, DeFi, you name it.
Yeah.
So really happy. And the turkey is already ready for after the show. So I'm running to my turkey to it.
Thank you, Jose, and welcome back on VCTV. Great. Now we have two new speakers. Okay, Stanley, over to you next. Can you remind what session did you join us before in VCTV Asia? Welcome to VCTV, by the way.
Hi, Sunny. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me again. I think the last section I joined was to do with sustainable and impact investing. And that actually follows what I do. We are a bunch of impact investors that actually look to invest into financial inclusion across developing countries, across Europe, South America, Africa, and Asia. And one of the things that we're quite excited about is actually using technology to promote financial inclusion. And if you look at peer-to-peer lending, it's exactly what we're trying to talk about. On top of that, I'm also a senior lecturer at a few MBA business schools on sustainable development and sustainable investment. So I think being part of this discussion is kind of exactly what I'm looking for, because this is how we actually try to ensure that everybody's got access to financial services, whether you're a company or an individual. So thanks for having me again.
Great, good to have you back on VCTV. It's been a little bit of break. And thank you for that. Next, I have Khaled. Khaled, welcome back. Khaled from Bangladesh. How are you? Hey, hi.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Yes.
And nice to be here again. And I work for Bangladesh Venture Capital Limited, and it is an investment company. And also we invest in researches. I also work for an university, and I would like to. I'm working there as a consultant also, and I'd like to be here again. And it's a wonderful platform. We can share our feelings, and we can share our, the investment opportunities and how where the world is going on. And thank you very much for VCTV calling me again. And let's see.
Most welcome, Khaled, and welcome back on VCTV. Okay, last but not least, I have new speaker. Sorry, my apologies if I can't pronounce your first name correctly. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, Moloku, welcome back to VCTV. Because so basically, if I understand, you're speaking on VCTV for the very first time. So can you please self-introduce yourself to other speakers?
Hello, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. My name is Muluku. I'm a private equity analyst at the Japan capital in Hong Kong. We're part of the larger Jackson Group. Is a 125-year-old organization that's been doing business between Asia and Europe since 1895. We have 5 different business divisions: consumer logistics, industrial, beverage, and electronics as well. And yes, so essentially, we invest in high growth European companies that have greater China potential, and we bring them over to the greater China area. And alternatively, I run my own boutique investment advisory firm where I help African companies raise funding from global institutional investors. And I advise a few crypto and crypto asset management firms as well. Thank you very much for having me, VCTV, and I'm very passionate about what blockchain can do in terms of remittance and in terms of DeFi as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Molika. Welcome to VCTV. I'm in Singapore and you're in Hong Kong. We're in the same time zone. So just a little bit of, I just wanted to tell you that you were breaking up and yeah. So, and little, the connection was weak as well. So just so that you know, thank you so much. Okay, great. So we all set with the introductions here. So this is a 1-hour show. We try to keep it 1 hour. I'm going to split this into 2 parts. We can talk about trends in 2020, peer-to-peer transactions, what has happened in the space, and second part, the second half, we discuss about recent investments and your advice to startups in the space. I see Telly on my Zoom lobby, so I'm going to start with Telly. Telly, take us through what has happened in 2020 in terms of peer-to-peer transactions. Obviously, with blockchain technology, you know, things have expedited. So I just want to hear from you. What's your insights? Thank you.
Okay, so in the context of peer-to-peer, 2020 was quite interesting because after that crypto winter that we all went through, I think what's been quite interesting is the push into DeFi. I mean, people realizing that they can monetize their crypto holdings, you know. Lending became, DeFi lending became a big thing. Everyone, you had a lot more platforms being launched in terms of collateral-based lending. And then you now have interesting, interesting applications that have now evolved DeFi from the context of crypto arbitrage trading. And that has definitely now brought upon a number of different peer-to-peer type transactions in the DeFi space. It's quite interesting to see. We've seen DeFi evolved in the area of DeFi, apart from lending, DeFi insurance. I'm seeing new insurance products being launched there. We've more or less evolved to a very unique space where even in the space of DeFi, we saw significant growth of new companies that have like increased their valuations even bigger than Bitcoin. What do you call it? Is it Yearn Finance? All these compound financing, yield financing. So you're seeing an increase in money markets. DeFi money markets. It's a whole bunch of stuff, but also what I see as a side is a growth of newer applications. I think they're driven more by dApps, and if we didn't have the dApp ecosystem complementing it, I don't think we would have seen the type of growth that we have. So definitely algorithmic trading is like on a high, and I'm seeing more and more startups coming in the space of creating this crypto arbitrage bots. Yeah, pretty much.
Great.
Yeah, new protocols being developed as well.
Sure. Thank you for this opening remarks. Telly, next, Verena, what are your opening remarks for the topic today?
Well, I think that it's so exciting that finally we see adoption of crypto all over the world. Only something that, 5 years ago we were only hoping about it. It's now providing a lot of important infrastructure and support for people in the countries where there's a lot of distress. We see Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies be kind of replacing the currency, mainly local currencies. And that's really, really important, because to me, that's what inspired me to step into the industry and build the infrastructure. And so that's exactly what we are seeing. And most importantly, we're seeing a lot of interesting infrastructure being built as well, and a lot of supports from governments, which for our industry has been still very, very questionable problem, right? Only 4 years ago, raising funding was nearly impossible for traditional ventures to build peer-to-peer payment systems that are crypto payment systems. Now we're seeing that it is actually encouraged. So I think we're just progressing and moving forward, and uniting and integrating technologies to make peer-to-peer transfer much more effective.
Perfect. Thank you, Rina, for this opening remarks. Next, I have Jose. Hi, Jose, over to you. The opening remarks, please.
So I would like to start with history, because history always teaches you a lot what is running today. Probably nobody knows that the first notary was built by Templars. So the first, look at it like this, the first blockchain, the official notary, right, was built by Templars. And also the first money transfer was invented by Templars. Now, how did it work at that moment? You would go to, let's say, to a spot. You would give your gold or your money, whatever it was. You would get a paper, right? And then you would travel. And on the other side of the world, you would give that paper to another spot, which was also owned by the Templar, and you get your money back, right, against a very small fee. So today, right, if we look at these things that, we were talking about 500 years ago, if we look at how things move today, it's not very different. It's only the speed that things happen. And if you look at peer-to-peer transfers, or I would even dare to say that you have today total decentralized transfers already in place, which more or less copies this example that I've given. So basically it's like this: you go to a spot, right? You leave your money, and you can pick it up, or you can have it transferred immediately, instantly to the other part of the world without even having to go through any official transfer itself. Could even be a phone call. So the space that we are looking for is instant transfer. So without delays. So it means that when you push the button, that money is available immediately, any part in the world in one shot. So that's what we are looking for to invest in.
Perfect. Thank you, Joseph, for sharing those remarks. Stanley, I've got you next.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, I think the whole idea of banking system is all about peer-to-peer lending. I mean, at the end of the day, right now, you have depositors who deposit money in their bank, and the bank actually lends it out. Right now, what blockchain is trying to do is that we're trying to replace the infrastructure of what banks are. So, I mean, the idea is that we're not moving away from peer-to-peer lending. It's always been the case. Right now, what for us, especially in the development space, what we've noticed is that in the developing countries, the infrastructure of banks are not there. So moving straight onto fintech and actually having direct lending peer-to-peer is actually what is actually helping us the most in trying to actually reach the most difficult places to reach. I mean, having the ledger actually recorded makes it much, much more interesting and more transparent to actually see what people are doing. So I think at the end of the day, we're not talking about anything different. We've always done peer-to-peer lending from the start of the banking system. Right now, what we're trying to say is that we need to replace the infrastructure, which was the institutional banks and the block and mortar kind of infrastructure, to a more kind of digital infrastructure. So I think we're not talking anything different. We're just changing the infrastructure. So in terms of the trend, that's where you're seeing a lot of fintechs actually come up, because fintechs are replacing that infrastructure that we're talking about in order to make it easier And I mean, like everybody's talked about already, there is new structuring that is coming out to actually catering for this. So I think it's a very interesting time to be part of this whole ecosystem.
Very rightly said, Stanley. Very good points. Thank you so much. Next, I have Khaled.
Yes. Previously, yeah, I'd like to start that Jose started. Like previously, business was slow and distances has to cover a lot. But now, before releasing movies in one place, we are getting it in another part of the world immediately, and the payment also required to be paid within the second or within a minute or so. So now, and on the other day, we were talking about the money transaction and other things with Gary, and another person was there. And with the help of the artificial intelligence and other technological development, now we can guess in advance what is coming out there. We are not actually now falling behind. We are now actually we can plan ahead. So what's coming next? Where we are going to invest, and how we're going to pay and get the result from the my requirement, right? So now we have to think, and we have to get into new niches, and also with new advancement of the technology, and the businesses to be matched, and businesses to be reshaped, or it can also be what can I say, with the new models should be designed to cope up with this technology, with fintech, with say all kind of advancements. So I'm in a bit of trouble to link all of this together, because now still we are developing too fast, and we don't know where it is leading us to. So now we are talking about 5G. On the other day, Gary was telling about 5G. What will happen when the 5G will come, and we won't have enough time to, so for example, to trace back to do something? Immediately it will be done. All the transactions and the decisions will be made immediately. So I'm a bit kind of confused in one sense, that the total requirement, I mean, if you think about the supply chain, so in some cases, some areas where the government is involved, when the slow processing are involved, when the other faster the infrastructure is there. So maybe we have to think a bit faster also, and we have to think different kinds of models also. So
Okay.
let's see
Sure.
what
Sure.
happens. Right. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Khaled, for the opening remarks. Gary, what are your insights about the trends in peer-to-peer transaction this year?
Yeah, I mean, the situation, and Jose was right on target. I mean, the Knights Templar developed a banking system in 1150. But, so let's focus on part of the facts. Part of it is the relationship that the banks build with the customers. And of course, we've talked about this numerous times, during this digital transformation over the last 10, 11 months, because of COVID, we've had to look at things a bit differently. But at the same time, that relationship with the bank, that personal relationship with the banker in the transaction has helped, right? So the added value is that. So being able to talk to them, I mean, I've done it many times with a lot of different loans, et cetera, for my companies. And I've worked personally with the banker, and I like that kind of piece. So that is door number one. Door number two is, blockchain is secure, but the situation is it can be hacked. So who owns that responsibility then for a transaction, right? I like the bank, because if I got a problem and something's not sent over the right way, I have some accountability, and it's not me, right? Or if somebody steals, somebody takes my credit card number, for instance, right? And I'm paying for something, I at least have some accountability. I like that, right? And that's one level that I don't have to worry about. But if you go down through, and if we start to doing these peer-to-peer transactions, and I think it's great, but then who owns that responsibility? And I'm not sure I want to have that, right? That I like all the other pieces, fast transactions, et cetera, but that part of it's not so interesting for me personally. So we've got a long way to go. We've got to, before we move, full force forward, we've got to look at, be careful what you ask for, right? Be careful what you ask for, because,
Right. Okay.
and make sure that you go down through and look at the permutations and combinations of what that's gonna do, who owns the responsibility? What if somebody does hack and you're sending out, for instance, I'm sending a transaction for $1 million to somebody, and so it's thwarted, it's stolen. What happens, right?
Anybody wants to take this question in this panel?
I mean, it walks away, right? Not your crypto, not your money. It reverse the works the reverse way. I agree with you, Gary, 100%. It's interesting too because it really depends on which country we're speaking about, right? In some countries, you really do not have the protections that we do have in America, and so the risks associated with the hacking are already there, and so. Interestingly, in some countries, crypto provides more security than a traditional kind of a traditional way people, transfer money to each other. But in America, I agree 100%. Why would you use crypto if you can use your cards? You're so much more protected. And again, until consumers do have ability to feel that protection, they won't feel comfortable with it. And then also, again, we're going back to that chicken and egg thing. Not your crypto, not your wallet, not your crypto. So, but how it is fine to have some dollars in your wallet and lose some of them. It is not fine to have somebody hack your phone and steal all your crypto. And then there's just no reversal from it whatsoever. It's just poof and it's gone.
I think one thing that we've got to look at is that we also, right now, we're not talking about replacing the entire banking system. I think what we're looking at is that we're looking at an additional avenue to actually be able to access funding. And that is one of the things, I mean, I fully agree with you, Gary, and I think, your point is very fair. But if you look at certain regions, like Irina just said now, that don't have the ability to actually have the banking relationships. I mean, I'll take Africa, for example, you need a replacement in order to enable people to also participate in the capital markets. And it cannot be, maybe not crypto, but the whole idea of blockchain and the whole idea of financial technology and skipping the infrastructure is key in those markets. So it's not replacing, but just having an additional avenue to create a new product mix on that. Sorry to cut you off, Valerie, so please go.
Actually, you
and
said what
sorry to cut you off further. Please go, Telly, please go.
No, he said what I was going to say, so go ahead, you go ahead.
So yeah, okay, Molule is back. Hi, we can't see you though.
Oh, yes. So my internet is not the best, so I would rather turn off my camera so you can hear me properly.
Oh, okay, sure. Please,
Start
the opening remarks for the show then.
Okay, yes, cool. So to add to what Stanley just said. So for example, like if you look at the African continent, right? Like we're not that well connected to the global economic systems, right? And then if you also look at the fees that it costs to send money to Africa, it's 9.4%, like almost 10% to Western Union and MoneyGram as well. So African consumers are paying the most money to be able to receive money, and so blockchain dramatically reduces the cost and enables them to be truly part of the capital markets, like Stanley said.
Okay, so it's about the cost. Ateli, would like to add on something to that?
Yeah, well, what my colleague said. I mean, there are certain parts of the world, especially in developing countries, inclusive of Africa, that it's really about inclusion. And if I want to take inclusion even further, inclusion of women as well, that tend to be locked out of the system. So this comes back to like traditions and ownership and cultures. In some cultures, the women don't necessarily get property. They don't get property. The property is assigned to men. Like, for example, my parents are from Nigeria, and I could tell you this, even in my village, everything is bequeathed to my brother, not to us. And I remember asking my dad, I was like, well, how come we don't get anything out of this thing? He's like, well, it's culture, but anyway, your brothers would take care of you. So what do I do in that context if I'm a woman? I don't have access to land. Probably it's even part of a family trust. I can't use that for collateral, right? So I'm essentially locked out of this traditional financial system. But now I have something that could empower me, and I can use it to create value. And I think value goes even beyond just the peer-to-peer payments. I probably am farming. I can take my crops, I can tokenize it, and I can just transfer value. It's amazing. It does. So you find in regions where there's most friction, you find them leapfrog. So yeah, you look at even the transactions for Bitcoin right now. I mean, 95% of these transactions are done in Africa.
Right.
That's just a fact, because the system is broken. The financial system is not designed to work for SMEs, and they've got the most SMEs and youth. So it's like this is the new payment rail. This is the new infrastructure that actually allows for inclusion. So I definitely agree with Maluku and Stanley there,
And I
that
just
if
also want to add,
context.
Sure, go ahead.
yes, and I also just want to add one more point. Not only does it bring more inclusion, and like not only do like more people get to participate, but it also brings in convenience, right? Because for most people that live in rural areas, where the nearest bank is like 3 hours away, at least they have a phone, right? And with blockchain technology, they can at least send money 24/7, right? So it's something that's very, very convenient, and people in even the most remote areas of the world are able to participate in the global financial system.
Great. Absolutely. Thanks for adding on those points, Molu. So this brings to the second half of the session. I just want to know about the investments that has been made, because there are startups are looking for funding in the space. So Jose, I'd like to start with you. What are the recent investments that you've made or you've seen that has gone into the space? And what's the advice for those founders who are looking to get funded in the space?
So in our case, we have a specific investment criteria, and that investment criteria has to do with basically 2 points. One is the business inclusion. So we are looking for anything that basically touches our main goal, which is business inclusion for every individual on this planet. And to make that happen, you need to have a what we call a social market economy. Now, a social market economy basically includes most of the pieces that we talk here on these shows. It's not only about technology, it's also about regulation, it's about marketplaces, social networks, messaging, business process automation, artificial intelligence. So it's very, very broad. I think the interesting part is that today, and this brings me a little bit to what we talked. First of all, I agree with, I just need to check his name. I don't think, is he online? Yes, with Khaled. I agree with Khaled that the problem today is the speed. And the world runs in different speeds. Definitely in Africa, if some countries it's one, and in Europe it's another one, in the US it's another one, but the speed is there. And also agree with Stanley that it's a replacement of the deficit infrastructure that we are facing. So blockchain by itself doesn't make these transfers better or worse. It's just a replacement for the infrastructure that is basically deficit and not working properly in some regions. But this brings me to Gary also. And he touched a very important point. It's not by accident that we have this regulation in place. And it's not by accident that we try to make somebody accountable. Because in fact, if you lose your Bitcoin, and I'm in favor of Bitcoin, don't get me wrong, who is responsible? Well, nobody is, right? There's no way that if you lose your Bitcoins that you can point your finger to anybody, because the system is based on being anonymous. And so the way I look at it is that the technology that is going to stay in the future, in my opinion, has not been yet invented. It needs to come. And definitely it will be a mix between digital currencies and maybe some regulation or not, or decentralized or not. But definitely what Gary says, somebody needs to be accountable if something goes wrong in the whole setup. So what we do at BizMoney, just to make it clear, is exactly that we are accountable. Okay, we are running the highway. We are running this layer on top of the economy, which we call a social market economy. And in that social market economy, okay, we decentralize everything, but we run the system and we are accountable for running the system and what happens inside the system. But we are not accountable for what people do in the system. And that is the difference. And that's where I'm looking for talent, okay, that wants to create this business inclusion for everybody. And at the same time, work on this new reality, because that's where we are going to in the next 10 years.
Perfect. Thank you, Joseph, for sharing those insights. Quickly, Khaled, next over to you. So what are the recent investments that you've seen been made in the space, and what's your best advice to the entrepreneurs who are looking to raise funds?
Now we are actually interested to find new niches, because the world is going to be changed, right, very soon. So we like to see that the new models that has more sustainability provisions. I mean, so for example, so new in our country, we are finding that mobile banking is coming vast areas now, and new investments and new, I mean, the new startups are coming with new services also, and most of them are with fintech and fintech services, and also investments in also they like to have the investments in Bangladesh and India, in this subcontinent. There are huge number of people, right? So whatever the transaction is, sometimes the transaction amount is not very good, but at the end of the day, the total number of transactions are very high. So the money and the amount is not very less at the end of the day. So I think that new initiatives in the fintech and the services, if we go to the huge number of people easily,
Right.
then it can be very good. So and it will be very good in the investment. And also we like to see, we have already got the invitation from lots of startups. We like to they are designing, and they are like to invest in the services, and so that we can fund them for the financial technology, especially in the mobile technology, mobile banking, and other systems like this.
Perfect. Thank you, Khaled. Next I have Irina. Sorry, Irina, over to you.
Yes, so one of the interesting things that we're seeing is the development continued in wallets, and so we'll see. We'll see how it all happens. On and off ramping is really important, and what that means is that how do you get into crypto and how do you exit into crypto? So, right, how do you buy crypto and how do you sell crypto back into fiat? Is very important. The railways are still not quite well established, and it's still a little bit challenging. But we're seeing some really interesting developments in the wallets and integration. Now, of course, because banking license have been passed here in US and in several many countries, it is possible now. It's becoming more realistic to integrate with the traditional finance, which makes it much easier for adoption. So the biggest kind of investments that I'm seeing in peer-to-peer, for crypto peer-to-peer, is developments and further advancements in wallets.
Perfect. That's the space. Thank you. Gary, next, your insights about the recent investments and what's the advice to the entrepreneurs you have in the space?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, as you know, I mean, I love artificial intelligence. So the integration of AI and blockchain is really interesting for us. So any companies from anywhere, we're interested in them. In terms of the cybersecurity aspect of this whole equation, like I said, it's near and dear to my heart. And anything around cybersecurity to be able to make this a bit better. I am concerned, as Jose said, about the accountability aspect, and being able to, and as Irina said, being able to somebody get into your wallet. I mean, it's one of the reasons that I'm very cautious about it myself personally. But then I had my identity stolen, and I had people try and open up bank accounts and stuff under my name and house mortgages and everything else. So I've gone through it, and I had to hire a private investigator to, a security private investigator to clean it up for me. So I've been through it, and I'm concerned about that. So I'm very cautious about anything that would not have some accountability. With the credit cards, for instance, they put $9,000 on a credit card, and I was able to go to the bank and get that taken. Well, imagine if somebody did it and it was out of my account and there was no accountability, So I think that, we've got some ways to go. I think in terms of the personal relationships with a bank, they're still critically important, having private bankers and bankers in general. But then on the other side of it, if you don't have those services and you're in Africa or some other place that does not have those services, and you got to do something, it is what it is, right? You got to use what you got, and it's understood. So we got some ways to go, but the good news is we're making a lot of progress, and we're definitely interested. I'm interested in investing in a company specifically that are interested in AI and blockchain and cybersecurity.
Excellent. Good insights between US and Africa. Thank you, Gary, for sharing those. Next, I have Stanley.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a recent investment that was actually done, I mean, if you look at a company called Jumbo, I mean, it just actually listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It's an African fintech, which is just listed. I mean, if you look at remittance, for example, now I'm glad that Gary actually brought it up, because currently I'm in Ghana now doing a due diligence on a fintech company that actually turns remittance into e-wallets. And I mean, to Gary's problem, like if you look at e-wallets, we're looking at small units like $100 or $200. And for those kind of things, like, people don't really go into the trouble of going to steal $100 out of somebody's e-wallet. So, I mean, the danger is there and it's fully comprehensible. But I think, like, given the fact that, in our region, we depend on remittance and e-wallets, I think this type of transitioning is actually quite necessary. But another recent investment that was done into the space was a company called Lululand, which is a fintech that actually provides funding to SMEs through remittance. So the idea, and if you look at developing countries, remittance actually make up more than foreign direct investments. So somehow you need to find a way to actually channel those remittance into productive uses. And I think that's where we talk about fintech. So, I mean, for us, we are more than interested to invest in any company that looks to actually use fintech to ensure that there is inclusivity in financial access to everybody. So more than happy to talk to any entrepreneur with that sort of entity.
Great. Thank you, Stanley, for sharing those insights. Next up, Telly.
Hey, thank you. So for me, the last year and a half has been focused around really mapping out and developing a digital financial market infrastructure. So to help shape that, I'm really doggish about protocols. The space is also great in the area of digital custody. I'm really key on digital custody. I hear what Gary is saying. There is a space for non-custodial wallets, but there's also a space, especially if you're trying to bring in institutional capital, you do have to have a mechanism to move into that rail for digital custody. So digital custody and with that insurance, digital custody insurance are big areas for investment. We already see in the landscape, a lot of these other exchanges have started acquiring custodians, and there's space for more custody, and with that, of course, cybersecurity within the space. I'm interested in companies that can actually focus and center around that, because that's really the most serious thing. The other thing I'm also doggish about is just new infrastructures. I mean, my focus in the last year has been on this new protocol, this new infrastructure, not protocol, called BAM2. It's different because they have actually learned from all the other blockchain infrastructures and protocols and focus more on the future, because we're focused on embedded finance and how best we can increase adoption. So they have pretty much built out an infrastructure that bakes in a lot of those applications that in you will see as additional applications. It's baked into the infrastructure. So an infrastructure that already has a token creator in its layer, an infrastructure that allows for not just developers to build on with APIs, but also is going to be working on creating widgets for everybody to adopt. Another thing is the enterprise blockchain for enterprises. So with that, anything that incorporates zero knowledge proofs, there's some industries you have to keep IP secure, protected. If you're looking at genomics in the area of genetics, those databases still have to be, kind of secure. So some aspects of privacy are still needed. And for us to actually get more bigger companies involved and more traditional companies involved, it's kind of important to have systems that can facilitate that. So interoperability, those that actually allow you to be, to be permission, but also permissionless at the same time, almost like hybrid, almost like cloud computing and the hybrid internet. So that's another area. And then, of course, on and off ramps. We're still living between centralized finance and decentralized finance. So people need to kind of move value in between. And lastly, I'm really excited about the application of um, blockchain to addressing challenges like climate and really developing solutions that actually incorporate either you're scaling up the finance for climate or you're actually leveraging the blockchain to provide new systems. So new financial products like insurance products, micro insurance for people who can access are great. And and then new payment rails that are replaced that can be replaced that replaces our traditional payments using
Great.
block. Mhm.
Thank you, Telly. There's a diverse set of areas that Telly is looking to explore. So startups and founders, there you go. Thank you, Telly. Last but not least, Molu, over to you.
Yes, so I would have to agree again with everything that Stanley just said, and I think the most interesting use case for blockchain as a whole has to do with remittance, especially bringing down the cost of remittance as well, especially to developed regions like the African continent and Southeast Asia. But I think I'm just trying to find the name. But I think, as Gary rightly mentioned, right, blockchain is not the end all and the be all. It should be something that is added to the existing infrastructure, right, that gives consumers more choices, right? So over the past a year, we've been increasingly looking at wallets. So the ability of people to hold currencies, especially foreign currencies, especially stable coins, as a hedge against deflation and inflation, especially as we've seen in places like Zimbabwe and in places like Nigeria, as well. As Sally rightly mentioned, 95% of Bitcoin transactions are coming from places like Nigeria. In fact, Ghana, Nigeria, and South Africa are reported to have the world's largest ownership of cryptocurrencies. So so essentially, we are mostly looking at blockchain wallets and companies that are using blockchain for remittance purposes. More than happy to speak to any of those companies. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Great. So we come to almost the end of the session. I'd like to take closing remarks. And where can these founders find you, basically? Irina, over to you, please.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here, as always. I'm so excited. It's Thanksgiving, and look how many of us are here, right?
Yeah,
I mean, way to represent, guys. Come on. The best way to find me is Twitter or LinkedIn. Twitter is better. I'm doing Twitter. It seems easier for some reason. But find me on LinkedIn as well. And I'm always I'm always here and available. I want to hear from companies, and I want to make sure that investors build better connections so we can have a better deal flow and liquidity for each other.
Great, thank you. Khaled, next, over to you. You're on mute.
Yeah, yes, thank you very much. So we are actually trying to invest in, for example, in mobile banking, and also with artificial intelligence and cybersecurity also. And you can find us in Bangladesh Venture Capital Limited. You can find us also in LinkedIn, and also you can find me in by my email, and Khaled Sohail, and also and we would be very happy to see international investment, also international startup also. We like to invest in internationally now, so
Right.
hopefully hopefully we will be getting some knock from national and
Perfect.
international both.
Perfect.
sections.
Thank you, Khaled. Gary, over to your closing remarks. Where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. So we go global. We help companies, particularly AI companies that want to use Silicon Valley as a port to the rest of the world. We're a Silicon Valley-based company. And what I'm particularly interested in is any company that has some type of AI that is interesting. So if you got artificial intelligence and not just the name, I mean, you got some sophisticated unsupervised or semi-supervised AI, I'm interested in that. So get a hold of me. You can reach me at LinkedIn. You can reach me at Twitter. Reach me, Gary at gsdvs.com. I've got a couple of shows that happen every week. You can check them out on GSD. Get Shit Done Venture Studios is my company. So great to be here, and thank you very much, Sunny.
Welcome. Thank you, Gary. Next, Jose, closing remarks, and where can people find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn on the Jose Grasa, or just search up for BizMoney. To the community, I would like to say the following, because I get almost on a daily basis requests. Look, my investment criteria is based first on technology, and we're talking about software technology that is related to business inclusion. And in that business inclusion, I'm looking for candidates that are talented and that are essentially in the pre-seed stage. They can even be in seed stage. I'm not looking for later stages. I think I'm not the right investor for that. And if you have something in real estate or in healthcare or those things, that's not for me. So I would say don't even approach me, because I'm really looking and focused on these topics that I'm saying. And you're most welcome. I'm always open to listen. And if you are in this stage, in this criteria, and you're about software technology that enables business inclusion, then please approach me. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Startups, take a note. Stanley, over to you next.
Yeah, I think thank you very much again for having me, Sunny. I think it was a great discussion, and I really look forward to the next one. But I think if anybody wants to chat, I think it's easier to find me on LinkedIn and send me a message on LinkedIn, and then we can take it from there. So thanks again.
Perfect. Thank you, Stanley. Telly, over to you.
Same here. You can reach me on LinkedIn. It's much easier. I'm also on Twitter, but not as active as I should be. So yeah, reach out. Let me know what you're doing.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Telly. Mario, over to you. The closing remarks, please.
Hello, everybody. Well, thank you so much for having me once again. Yes, I'm very accessible on LinkedIn. I would love to connect with any high growth European companies that want to enter into Greater China, and also any developing startups from developing regions. I'm very accessible on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So entrepreneurs and founders who are going to looking to reach out to these investors, they can obviously know where they can find. They can also find them on VCTV. on our website. So all you have to do, just reach out to me and just say that I want to pitch. And that's it. I'm going to help you connect with these investors. And again, investors who are looking to be a part of the show and share the same space with other investors, like-minded speakers, please reach out to me. I can help connect with our team and we can take it forward. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, all the speakers, because I always say VCTV is VCTV only because of the commitment and the time and the insights that you share and give to the channel. Thank you so much. And end of the show. Happy Thanksgiving again. Have a great celebration, those who are celebrating. And I see you next. I see you tomorrow on another topic. Until then, stay safe, stay connected, and